What is happening, fishing friends? Welcome to another episode. My name is Devin from D.E.B.O.S Fishing, coming to you today on behalf of KastKing to talk about the Perigee 2 rod. Perigee, why does that sound familiar? Well, if you're a bass angler like myself, you can't talk about bass fishing without talking about the different lunar cycles. You know, half moon, quarter moon, full moon. Oh, sound familiar, right? Well, in those different cycles, really all that is the different points at which sunlight is reflecting off of the moon, and depending on how much of the earth is in the way of the sun bouncing off it, more or less of the moon is lit up. The moon doesn't actually send off light. I don't know if you knew that or not, but that's a hashtag free tip of the day. So perigee, what does that mean anyway? Well, it's the point in orbit of the moon at which it is nearest or closest to the earth. So why is that important? Well, if you talk about perigee in my rod rotation, it would be the point in the rod's rotation in which it's closest to me, in my hand. And I am definitely keeping this rod in my hand for a certain popular application these days. I happen to pick up the 7'1" medium heavy rod, and this is definitely going to be my absolute go-to dedicated rod for a certain application. We'll get to that more, but first I want to look at some of the features on it. If you start at the end here, you'll notice that it does have the pretty cool logo down there, but it has the rubber bottom. I like that, having a rubber bottom, so if you set it down or clanking on rocks, it's not going to make a bunch of sound. Moving up, it's got the cool logo there. With the EVA grips, I personally prefer the EVA grips. I think they feel better. I know that cork is supposed to dampen less vibration. Less vibrations dampen, meaning more sensitivity, but I just like the feel of EVA better. That's just a personal preference though. Here's where it gets really, really important to me, the feel of this. Now, when I'm looking at a rod setup, I hold my rods like this, I palm it, one goes over, finger here, one goes under. It has to be very comfortable to me. Now, to me, it's really important that this trigger comes down past my pinky, which it definitely does. It also palms extremely comfortable underneath and on top. Another big complaint of mine when you start looking at rods is, where does this reel seat tighten knob, where does it actually sit on my fingers? Well, this is EVA. I love it. My finger sits right here perfectly, and it is extremely comfortable. It's a very, very, very comfortable rod to palm. Love it! Speaking of the reel seat tighten knob, I love how this one is set up, because when you go to tighten or loosen this, it's easily accessible. It's not one where it goes clear under the reel and you have to try to use your fingertips. This one you can get a good firm grip on it and tighten or loosen as needed. Now, also looking at this reel seat, this part is reinforced. It's graphite underneath with the graphite on top reinforced, so it's not just one little tiny thin piece of plastic. I broke some of those tightening this down. This one, there should not be any issues with that. It's good and thick and reinforced on the outside. Oh, they did it so right. Thank you, KastKing, for making the hook keeper the right way. I personally do not like those hook keepers where it's like a U. You have to take your hook out of the plastic and hook it in there. I like these. You can leave your plastic all rigged up, slip it under there, and then when you're ready to go, you just pop it out and follow up as needed. So love that feature. As you move up, the actual blank of this rod is a 24-ton Toray carbon fiber blank. And I like that blank rating. It's a good in-between. It's not too fragile or brittle, but it's also still a very good. I like that. I've got a few of the 24-ton Toray. A couple of my other rods, the Royal Legend, use the same 24-ton Toray carbon. And I like it. It's a good in-between, durable, yet still very sensitive. Moving up, they did keep the Fuji line guides on these, like the Royal Legend. Still very good guides. I love the Fuji guides. Going up, you can see they have the extra reinforcement there on the second. And then as you go up, it's still got very good guides on it. Fuji all the way up. Now, what's interesting about this is I got the one piece, but this does come in a 1- and 2-piece rod. Now, what's interesting about the 2-piece is that it's actually really a 3-piece. You get 2 different tips with this rod. They come in with a medium light medium or a medium medium heavy. Now, I personally don't use 2-tip rods or 2-piece rods. I don't want to have to worry about carrying them around and forgetting them. It just seems like another thing that I would probably forget. However, I can see it being very, very beneficial for bank anglers. If you just want to come in with one setup, you would actually have 2 different setups with you, bringing the 2 different tips. Now, where I am considering actually getting the 2 pieces with my spinning setup. I don't use spinning setups a whole ton, but I usually just get a medium rod. Now, if you want to drop down to something like a drop shot or something, a lot of people recommend a medium light action rod. And if you were to get this rod with the medium light and a medium, you would have the best of both worlds. A 7-foot spinning rod with a medium light and a medium tip. It would cover pretty much all finesse fishing that I would do. Those are the only 2 rods that I would honestly need, and I wouldn't have to carry 2 different setups with me. I would just have the one setup with the 2 tips. So pretty darn interesting. Speaking of interesting, I was interested in seeing how much this rod weighed. So to help us out again, I have this scale zeroed out on grams. We'll put the old Perigee right here, and we come to 131 grams. Now, in case you're wondering, that would translate over into 4.5 ounces. So it's a pretty light rod. I weighed my Royal Legend 7'3" medium heavy, and it weighed in at 159 grams. So it's an astonishingly light rod. Now, I think we should do some tests. Let's see how this thing works in the field. I came out here to a little field not too far from where I live to do some casting tests with the Perigee 2. No, I can't do any fishing right now with it. Unfortunately, everything is all frozen over here. So I want to get this out, test out the old Perigee 2 and see how it casts. I've got the KastKing Stealth on here, and all I'm going to be casting today is a little weightless Senko, just to show you all. The power of this rod is a medium heavy, and the action is fast. However, it's got a pretty soft tip, and that's what you want when you're casting weightless baits, weightless stick baits. You want something with a little bit of tip and flex that's going to be able to throw it, but you want to have that backbone because you are fishing just a single hook. You want to make sure you can get that hook penetration. So let's just do a couple casts with this and see how far we go. That's pretty good. I'd say probably 30 yards with that. And even pitching with a rod like this is awesome because you've got the tip. So if you look here, that's what kind of tip we're looking at. Now that's a pretty soft, fast tip. You know, that's getting down more into the, you know, more of a moderate fast, I kind of think, which I like. I like that for, you know, a weightless bait. So that's where it goes. I keep my spool decently loose, just barely doesn't wiggle, but I'm really happy with this. This is going to be my for sure dedicated weightless stick bait rod. It's got a good soft tip, but it does have a good strong backbone. It's heavier than, you know, something like a medium power. Definitely has more backbone than that, but it's got a nice, decent tip on it. And you have to have a tip like that if you want to throw weightless baits. If it's, you know, like a real extra fast tip, and it were only to bend like right here, if I were to be doing that, it would just bend this much at all. You're not going to be able to get a good, you know, cast on a weightless bait like that. So those are some things you want to look for when you're casting a weightless bait. Hope this helps. Let's go back to what I was talking about earlier, the point in which this rod will be closest to me in my rod rotation, and that will for sure be any time that I am throwing a weightless stick bait or fluke. This is going to be for sure my dedicated setup for that. This rod has enough tip to load up those light baits to ensure you get a good cast, good distance, but it's also got a strong enough backbone to ensure you get a proper hook set. So let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you all look for when you're throwing weightless baits. Let me know if you like this type of video and if you would like to see more videos like this in the future. If you've not already subscribed to the KastKing channel, please do so for more informative videos just like this one. No matter what, remember KastKing tries to keep fishing affordable for everyone. Till next time.